Hello, hello, hello. It is Moscow Mitch Monday. We are your Mitch McConnell Retirement Committee. And man, we got a live stream for you, interwebs. We've got some great stuff for you. We're excited to share it with you. And today we've got, of course, Mitch in the news, because Mitch is always in the news because he's the most powerful, evil human on the planet. We've got Doug following Mitch's money, as we often do, pretty much always do. Also, we're joined over the campaigns corner by Tara Bassett, who is with 502 Livestreamer, one of the 502 live streamers, doing an amazing job of showing what's happening in Louisville on the streets. This week, our guest is actually candidate Dr. Alexandra Owensby, who's running against radioactive gutter slime Thomas Massey. That's up in the Northern Kentucky 4th District. We got updates on our campaigns to help ditch Mitch on November 3rd, our 5K for KY campaign, which is brought to us by our organizing chair, Kid O'Connor. We got updates on our See Ya Senator Saturday or Safe SCOTUS Saturday, all the great stuff we're doing. There are only 15 days until November 3rd, people. That is just over 2 weeks to go to have an impact on this race. So I hope you are freaking out because I am freaking out, and we have got a lot of work to do. We need help. We'd like you to pitch in, make a donation, help spread the word, because we have got to educate Kentucky voters about what is going on and how Mitch does not care about you unless you are, a corporate fat cat who has contributed to his campaign. He doesn't care about you, Kentucky. So we're telling that word. We're sharing that word as far and as wide as we can. And we're taking action every day to defend our democracy from Moscow Mitch. We're challenging you to do the same, taking action every day. And we're going to go, we're going to give you a snapshot of what could be done. If you're not sure how you want to spend your time these 15 days, we've got great examples. They're going to come to you later from the team, the co-hosts of MMRC. So here we are doing introductions. Who are you, where you're coming to us from, and what does your protest sign say today? Again, I'm Aaron. I'm coming to you from Childsburg, a lovely deed-restricted community in Lexington. My sign says, "Save our democracy, ditch Mitch." That's what it says. I'm going to throw it now to Kimberly. She's going to tell us who she is, where she's coming from, and what her sign says. And I'm going to tell Kimberly that she's on mute because that's what we do. That's part of how we do this.
My favorite time of the week.
I'm Kimberly Cecil Jones, and I'm here in the great city of Louisville, Kentucky. And my sign says today simply this: VOTE, vote. Get Mitch McConnell out. Vote.
Do it. Vote. All right, Nate, next. What's up?
Hey, folks. This is Nate Orshan, and soon to be joined by Kid O'Connor here, broadcasting live from our lovely home in South Frankfurt. And tonight, my sign will say, hey, Mitch, time to leave the stable because Kentucky's had enough of your BS.
Nice. All right, and we are now heading to Mitch in the news. Because that's what we're doing is Mitch in the news. So much news, and we're opening the segment with something that everyone probably heard and needs to hear it again.
The House passed a bill in May, and the Senate went on vacation. I mean, you just don't do that. You negotiate. Senator, it is a national crisis. Yeah. You knew that the coronavirus wasn't going to end at the end of July. We knew this. I mean, I just think you've got to. And here's the thing: if you want to call yourself a leader,
so Bill,
if you want to call yourself a leader, you got to get things done. And those of us that served in the Marines, we don't just point fingers at the other side. We get the job done.
Well, there you have it. The biggest chuckle in the world and the biggest moment of the debate in terms of Mitch McConnell chuckling, or you want to call it laughing. He laughed in a near super villainous fashion, laughing at his abysmal failure to pass a coronavirus relief bill. Apparently, he thinks it's funny to force people out of their homes and into the streets, to force cities, counties, and states to cut essential services and deny a lifeline to those who need it. And now, apparently, he was almost shamed in his nationwide notoriety, and the Senate is once again putting forward a very small, inadequate relief measure because the White House and the House definitely still wants to help people in need. This weekend around the state, Mitch also said that the economic fallout of coronavirus is not a catastrophic situation, as more than 8 million Americans have slid into poverty since May. That's right, since May, slid in 8 million people. The Kentucky Center for Economic Policy reports clear signs that the economic recovery spurred by the CARES Act has halted, as job growth has stalled and Kentucky's unemployment rate is still double what it was in March. Unbelievable. Additionally, 3,000 Kentuckians in the travel industry are at risk of partial or permanent layoffs. Restaurateurs and small businesses in the Kentucky hospitality industry have been begging McConnell for direct aid for months instead of more debt from PPP loans, signaling large amounts of closures without direct help. And a survey of SNAP recipients in Kentucky showed that 70% of those surveyed struggled to buy enough food. Another 37% had issues with job loss or reduced hours. Keep laughing, Mitch. Keep laughing and remind us all of how little you care about real Kentuckians, not your fat cat donors. Keep laughing, Mitch. Keep laughing.
Chuckle heard round the world. Yeah, super villain for sure. And now we're joined in a little bit of a transition. We have got Kit O'Connor joining us because Kit has a story that they wanted to share.
Yes, and Kimberly, now you have me over here going moo ha ha, moo ha ha. But here's the thing. Instead, I'm going to say, what happens if Mitch wins in 2 weeks? So let's get it all out. Ready? That will make us mad, right? Seriously, what if the Mitch McConnell Retirement Committee fails in our mission and we do not retire Mitch? Okay, it's a little overwhelming to think about, but here's what I want you to know. I want you to have hope, friends. Have hope. There is hope. Here is why. First of all, we're going to defeat Mitch. Okay, but if we don't, we are favored as Democrats. I'm going to call us Democrats because that's the opposite of Mitch here, to retake the Senate. So there is hope that we can accomplish some of these things that he's gotten and he's stood in the way of, and even hopefully even more. According to Nate Silver, whose father was a professor at Michigan State University, so go green, Democrats are favored to win control of the Senate. I'm going to talk about a couple of specific states. One, Iowa. Joni Ernst is in the fight for her life against Democrat Teresa Greenfield. The most recent poll has Greenfield up 47% to 43%. So go Iowa. Montana, Battle of the Steves. Steve Daines, the incumbent, is in a very heated race with former presidential candidate Steve Bullock. Maine. I'm a Mainer. I'm from Maine. I can drop my R's or my A's like the best of them. Here's the deal. Susan Collins, I am so concerned about you right now. I am so concerned. And all my people are voting for Sarah Gideon. Okay, well, you have out-concerned us Mainers, and we are going to vote for Sarah Gideon. So right now, as of, I guess, recently, Sarah Gideon has a 1-point lead over Susan Collins. So that's another seat we can flip. And then the fourth one I want to mention is North Carolina. Tom Tillis is currently losing by 4 points. Wow, I cannot drop that Maine suddenly. 4 points to Cal Cunningham. So those are 4 that are like really kind of could flip for us, but there are a few others in play. One right now, Mark Kelly in Arizona has a lead over Martha McSally in a special election there. John Hickenlooper is favored to defeat Cory Gardner in Colorado. I refuse to give up on Doug Jones, Democrat who has stood by his principles. And let's not lose sight of that. When Ruth Bader Ginsburg died, Doug Jones stood by his principles, even if it could have meant losing his seat. And he's really, really struggling in Alabama, but I refuse to give up on him. I refuse to turn the page on Jon Ossoff and against David Perdue in Georgia. I am holding great hope for Jamie Harrison defeating Lindsey Graham in South Carolina. We are all praying for that one. And I am still there with Amy McGrath defeating Mitch McConnell, because you know what? We're going to get it done. And just remember, anything can happen in 2 weeks. Vote like your life depended on it, but you don't just go alone. You take 5 people with you. Love, Kit.
Awesome. Thank you so much for joining us. Yeah, so the Democrats just need to pick up 4 seats to flip the Senate. And, you know, obviously, we're the Mitch McConnell Retirement Committee. It's baked into the name. It's very clear what we want to do. We want to get rid of Mitch. But I'll tell you what, if, you know, we don't do what we have been intending to do, trying to do, working to do, I would feel a lot better if we as a nation demoted Mitch. But what we're absolutely focused on is telling the story of how Mitch fails Kentucky. And for that story, I want to go back to a bill that some of you might know, but it is a bill that is not law right now. It is a bill that it was specifically written to help Kentucky and communities, coal communities like those in Eastern Kentucky. It's called the Reclaim Act. And the reason this was brought up is in the past couple of weeks, 2 miners have died in Kentucky. And so that human cost of the coal industry has been brought into very sharp relief. And if you remember, we had Sarah Lynn Cunningham on last week in Campaigns Corner with the Sierra Club, climate activist from Louisville, talking about how horrible Mitch McConnell has been for climate change. So if he's horrible for climate change, if he's horrible for coal communities, and he's clearly somebody who doesn't care about really anyone besides corporate fat cat donors, like, what good is he, right? And so the Reclaim Act was written specifically to help communities recover from the impact of mining. The way it would work, it would actually free up $1 billion from the abandoned mine lands fees into economic development grants for Appalachia. So this is not like money. This isn't taxpayer money. This is money that coal companies have already paid into a fund, and it would basically free that up, allow that to be spent for helping these communities that need help. This was actually introduced in 2016. It's been around for a really long time. It was introduced by Congressman Hal Rogers. And if you don't know your Kentucky politics, Hal Rogers is horrible. He is a Republican from like the southeastern side of the state. And he's never done anything good for really very many people except for Hal Rogers. And he did, in fact, though, co-sponsor the Reclaim Act. It is something that is supported really across the board by Kentucky's lawmakers. And it never got traction, even though we had the leader in the Senate who is a Kentucky lawmaker who theoretically cares so much about us, right? He tells us on his ads how much he's done for us. This Reclaim Act was dying because there was no action in the Senate. There was a lot of support in the House. And it actually, in July, it got wrapped into the Moving Forward Act. The Moving Forward Act is a $1.5 trillion plan to rebuild America's infrastructure. If you remember, it was one of the issues that Trump said he really wanted to do was fix America's crumbling infrastructure. So this was a House version of a bill to try to do that. It included the Reclaim Act to help struggling coal communities. And in addition to that, so when they moved it forward in July, it included $130 billion for high poverty schools. It included $100 billion to deliver high-speed broadband internet access to all parts of the country. Hello? You got students right now who are, outside of McDonald's in cars to get access to the Wi-Fi so they can do their homework and the distance learning that we're dealing with right now. It had $25 billion to upgrade, ensure that all communities have clean drinking water. Hello. Martin County, Eastern Kentucky absolutely needs this help. $30 billion to upgrade local hospitals and help community centers respond to health emergencies. Hello. Our rural hospitals absolutely need help. And then $25 billion to modernize U.S. postal operations, which again, we know the post office is in the crosshairs right now. Of course, a lot of that's being brought about by Mitch's political operatives. So this Moving Forward Act would have been a great way to deliver the Reclaim Act and do lots of other good things for struggling communities, but it got nowhere, right? Because Mitch said it's just a liberal wish list, right? Because it actually helps people. So that's just a liberal wish list. Meanwhile, the economic fallout of the failing coal industry continues to impact communities at a very real level. This is from a public news service article. 8 coal companies declared bankruptcy in 2019. That is expected to rise. We've got now 29% of all mining permits in Kentucky are in bankruptcy, according to the Appalachian Citizens Law Center. And when these companies go into bankruptcy, they're trying to sell off their permits. So we've got fewer and fewer companies in the mining industry, the coal industry, that have the resources to do what they're supposed to do to hold on to these permits, right? To take care of the environment, to take care of the communities. Obviously Black Jewel gained national attention in 2019 for, stiffing its employees and clawing back paychecks before they went bankrupt. A judge ruled that the company could only be ordered to address environmental violations that constituted an immediate threat to public health and safety. And Black Jewel holds 209 Kentucky mine permits, right? And meanwhile, homes that are near these mining sites are at risk from landslides, water pollution, flood hazards, other environmental threats. And what could fix these communities and these, help address these threats? The Reclaim Act. That's what the Reclaim Act is supposed to do. Where's the Reclaim Act? Despite being co-sponsored by conservative Republican Kentucky House member Hal Rogers, supported across the board by all the Kentucky lawmakers, except Mitch McConnell, except the one that matters, right? So again, when Mitch is telling you that he cares about coal communities, it is a lie. He had a chance, a golden opportunity to deliver for coal communities. Just pick up the Reclaim Act, move it forward, and he did nothing. $1 billion in non-taxpayer funds and funds that the coal industry have already paid into a fund, free up that money to help these coal communities, struggling coal communities. He did nothing. Just remember that. Next thing we wanted to just wrap up with, though, as we, Mitch in the news, there's always a bad story, because wherever Mitch puts his time and his energy, it's a bad outcome for Kentucky. So that's just the takeaway message here. He doesn't care about coal communities. He does not care about dealing with coronavirus. He thinks it's a joke, thinks it's worth laughing about. And that's what we have, Kentucky. 2 weeks, though. 2 weeks to go. All right, so now we are going to Campaign's Corner. Very excited to have with us a 502 live streamer. 502 live streamers, something got a lot of attention when the protests were happening in Louisville, and we have very exciting that Kimberly has helped bring Tara Bassett on the show with us. One of the live streamers that's gotten a lot of attention and helped to show a lot of information about what was going on in Louisville. Welcome very much. Welcome to the show, Tara. Thank you so much for being with us. I think you're muted.
Thank you so much. Glad to be here with you today.
Awesome. And I did want to give you the chance to, if you want to answer the question of what is your protest sign say today, because yeah,
can you see
that's
it?
a good one. Good boys against racism. I love that.
Yeah.
Is that your pooch?
No, but it looks like one of them. My other life is animal rescue. And, there's always been the comment made that white people care more about their animals than they do about Black people's lives. And I think I'm a pretty good example of someone who can do both and can put things into perspective.
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much for joining us. Tell us a little bit about, the work that you're doing, what you've done as one of the 502 live streamers, and what you're currently documenting.
Well, my name is Tara Bassett. I've been in media in Louisville for almost 40 years. And when the protests began, we had been in COVID for just about 2 months. And I'd already been going out and doing stories on COVID with my I call it the Swiffer handle mic. And I put a microphone on the end of a Swiffer handle, literally, so I could have the required 6 feet of distance away from my interview guests. And I've been going out and doing COVID stories. And the first 2 nights of civil unrest occurred. And I thought, I've got to go down there and see what's going on, because really, I mean, you can live in the white world and not have any concept of what's going on in the Black community, because we live in different parts of town. We have the 9th Street divide, and you really just don't have any comprehension of what's happening most of the time. And I went looking for damage to document, and I found that the damage was to the people, and it changed my life forever. And, going on 150 days here, we've been out documenting. Quickly, you flock to like fellows, as you know, and a group of us discovered each other. And the group consists of Maxwell Mitchell, Shay Wolfuck, Antonio T. Maid Taylor, John Cherry, who's a still streamer, but he takes still photographs, but he's still part of our original 8. And then Jason Downey, Summer Dickerson, Jared Wright, who goes by Riot Heart, and myself. I quickly hashtagged us 502 live streamers as a group, because I knew that we would need to have some credibility as an outlet gathering information. And we've just made it our point to cover as much protest activity as we can, and also to cover a lot of the great things that are going on in the communities, particularly the ones that serve the Black communities of West Louisville. And so we've been doing a lot of voter registration drives and food delivery and other amazing events that are taking place.
That's great. Hey, Kimberly, did you want to check in, ask any questions? I know you bring that Louisville perspective that me, a guy in Lexington, just really doesn't have a good sense of what is exactly happened over there. So I wanted to see if you had any questions for Tara.
Tara, I know you for quite some time, and you've always been very fair. Being in some of those situations that you've had to film the good and sometimes the ugly parts of what the police what they've done, actually the police brutality. How does that make you feel? How does it make you feel when you see for your own self how the police have really administered their so-called serve and protect?
As a white woman of 60, nearly 1 years of age, I never expected to be wearing body armor and carrying a gun at this point in my life. But that's what's required to do the job that we do as live streamers in the middle of the protests. And I have never had the experiences with police that many Black people have every single day. So, I have to say it's a horrifying situation to be in the middle of all of that conflict, and to observe the difference between the way the police talk to me and the way that they communicate with members of the Black community. There's a very definitive difference. And there's so much conflict between the two opposing parties that the stress is so high, the mistrust is so high. There really is not any conversation. It's just screaming. And one of the goals that I've had as a 502 live streamer is to elevate Black voices, amplify Black voices, and enable bridges for conversations to take place between the opposing parties in hopes of finding some sort of resolution.
That's so great. And so I know this is just a really short interview and we're not doing justice to the work that you're doing. But if there's anything that you would encourage our viewers to do, to check it out, to find you guys, what should they do?
Well, hashtag 502 live streamers, you'll find us everything that we do. We're also making a point of heading over to Mitch's house on Saturday mornings at 11, where the local group of Mitch McConnell protesters have set up. They have been quietly doing their job until the day that we posted that we were doing it, and 502 live streamers showed up and brought some protesters from downtown. And of course, LMPD came at that point. So that was quite a much more entertaining protest than what they have been having, which has been fairly calm. But yeah, look up hashtag 502 Livestreamers. We all have our own Facebook pages. We now have a website, 502livestreamers.live. And you can hook up with us. And if you have events that you want us to come and cover, send a request. We've got a form on our website. We're happy to come and cover it for you.
That's so great. Awesome. Well, thanks again. And thanks for the work you're doing. I think, clearly bearing witness to the protests, bearing witness to the, the positive stuff that's not going to get covered by the news.
That's
the
right.
The news just really wants to see things burning because, they're being told by everyone that everything's burning. And that's a great way to divide people. They don't want to see the kind of positive, peaceful protests. They want to see confrontation, which of course, oftentimes the confrontation started and carried out by the police. But thank you so much for documenting that important.
We've turned a lot of that narrative around actually with our live streams, and we're very proud of that. And we also have given Amy McGrath some much needed coverage on the live streams, and we'll continue to do that to promote her.
You guys are not going to be supporting Mitch in this election. I love that you're going to Mitch's house. We have to go to his we go to his Lexington office every Saturday, but it's in like a corporate bank. Shockingly, his office is in a corporate bank building on Corporate Drive in Lexington. You guys get to go to his home. So
yeah, he's on a 2-lane road that is just below the Highlands, and there's two ways to get in and out of it. And his security detail is super nice. I've talked to them every time I've gone up there. And I even asked them if they would consider asking him if he'd come out to do an interview with me. And they said, well, we'll ask, but the answer will be no.
So let's just pretend we did that. Awesome. Thank you, Tara.
Thanks so much.
Awesome. And now we are moving to call to action. As you know, this is not just a bunch of talking heads on the internet. This is a digital demonstration against Mitch McConnell. And to do so, you've got to get active, right? We're not doing this just to entertain you. I hope there's a marginal amount of entertainment. It's information, little entertainment, lots of action. So call to action. And this is very exciting. We've got Kit with us for that. Our organizing chair, Kit O'Connor. Welcome
All
back.
right. Yes. Twice in one night, you poor people. I feel bad. Hey, listen, I've been reading a lot lately by people who say things like, oh, I need 2020 to end. You know what? I need the last 4 years to end. And, this sense of despair for some folks is palpable. Here's what I'm going to say. You've heard me say it before. The antidote to despair in these times is action, right? In 2 weeks, no matter what the outcome, can you say to yourself, I left it all on the field? Can you say that? Can you say, I took action? I did what I had to do to get the outcome I want. Now, hopefully we want the same outcome. And if so, here's a few things you can do. 1, my favorite, join us with a continuation of our 5K for KY, Get Out the Vote. So the get out the vote, text banking, adopting friends and family and making sure they get out to vote, finding people you didn't even know you knew and making sure they got out to vote. That's one thing. Do phone banking, do text banking for Amy. Join us on Saturday for what I like to call our See a Senator, Save SCOTUS Saturday, because, it sort of flows. At the corner of Harrodsburg Road and Corporate, as Aaron mentioned, his office, yes, it's on Corporate Drive. Mask up. There's lots of space. Come join us. There are 0 excuses because there is lots of space. Come join us and let's protest. Let's get folks honking because guess what? Kentuckians are also tired of Mitch and want him to retire. And then Sunday, we're going to be doing some flyering, no more Mitch flyering with the People's Campaign, location to be determined. But my call to action is you don't have much time left. We got 2 weeks. If you haven't done it, go do it. Love it.
Awesome. All right, so that's it. Do it. Call to action, people. We are now going to Doug, who is following Mitch's money. That was then, this is now, and now it's time for Doug.
I would certainly be in favor of allowing states to use the bankruptcy route.
Tonight's Following Mitch's Money is titled, That Was Then and This Is Now. Mitch is making the rounds in Kentucky handing out money. His words and political ads stress that essentially he should be reelected because he is able to provide more funding for Kentucky. Is he good for Kentucky or good for Mitch? In 1984, Mitch entered Congress as a new senator making an annual salary of $72,600. The federal minimum wage at that time was $3.35 an hour, translating to an annual salary of $6,938. Today, Mitch's salary is $193,400, and the federal minimum wage is just $7.25. I don't believe Mitch has ever voted to increase the minimum wage. And the federal minimum wage is just above the poverty level wage of $6.13 per hour, and that amounts to approximately $13,800 per year. Mitch makes over $190,000 per year. How many of you make $190,000 per year? Here is a comparison of Kentucky's poverty level and other states both then and now. In 1984, Kentucky's poverty level was the 7th highest in the nation. After 36 years of Mitch, as of 2019, Kentucky's poverty level is the 7th highest in the nation. I will concede that our percentage level of poverty is less now than in 1984, but the point is we have a better poverty rate than Mississippi, Louisiana, New Mexico, South Carolina, Arkansas, and West Virginia. Thank God for those states. The national average is 10.6 and Kentucky's is 13.6. Mitch talks about the CARES Act original funding of $350 billion and how much that brought to Kentucky. Here are some sad facts. Kentucky received per capita loan dollar amounts of $928.60 based on 23,797 loans. The swing states of Colorado, Iowa, Michigan, Ohio, Pennsylvania, Virginia, and Wisconsin all had higher per capita rates than Kentucky. Florida, another swing state, has a lower per capita rate of $838.70, but over 3 times higher than Kentucky's number of loans. All of this makes one wonder if loans were more heavily promoted in swing states than in others. Is there any connection to the November election? Mitch talks about how he has helped Kentucky communities. Here's one that was noted in Matt Jones' book, Mitch, Please. As an aside, if you have not heard our Nate Orshan's Mitch, Please original song, then go to our Facebook page. It is an amazing description of Mitch. In the book, Matt details a story about how Mitch called a friend in Henderson, Kentucky, essentially telling him that he had $8 million left over from a transportation grant and wondered if the friend had an idea where the funds could be spent. The friend suggested the city could use a new waterfront area, and that's how the funds were spent. Could those funds have been put to better use in other Kentucky counties? There are 16 counties, 16 of our 120 counties, that have a poverty level over 30%. 30%. All in eastern Kentucky except for Fulton County. If you watched the McConnell debate, you heard Mitch snicker and laugh many times. Why does he think this election is a laughing matter? The bottom line is that after 36 years, Kentucky is not better off. Kentucky has not moved forward during the 36 years that Mitch has been in Washington. For several years, Mitch has been in total control of the U.S. Senate, and one would think that our Mitch should have done a much better job for Kentucky, but sadly, that is not the case. That was then, and this is now. Kentucky is not better off. The 800,000 Kentuckians in poverty are struggling, but Mitch is doing quite well. We know the truth. Now it is up to us to ditch Mitch on November 3rd, 2020.
This partisan impeachment will end today.
President Putin was extremely strong and powerful.
Proud Boys, stand back and stand by.
All right, let's do it. Thank you, Doug. Thank you so much for doing the due diligence and sharing the facts about Mitch and his money, which, of course, to Mitch, that's what it's all about, is money, money, power. That's why he does politics, which is why we've got to get rid of him. We're now bringing on a breath of fresh air to Mitch and his focus on politics. Somebody's doing it for way different reasons. And we have got with us Dr. Alexandra Owensby, who, if you've not heard of her, because maybe you don't pay attention to Northern Kentucky politics, but she is running against Thomas Massie in Kentucky's 4th district. That is Northern Kentucky. And Thomas Massie needs good opposition because that guy should not be in Congress. He is the dumbest smart guy I've ever seen, and he's an embarrassment to the state. Pretty much every time he opens his mouth, or at least every time he gets in the news, it's an embarrassment to the state. And we are now very, very glad to be joined by his Democratic opponent, Dr. Alexandra Owensby. Thanks so much for coming on the show tonight.
Thanks for having me. It's such a pleasure to be talking to such amazing people that are out there making a difference in this world.
Oh, that's very sweet. So tell us, as you heard, it's a protest against Mitch and Mitch-like politicians. What does your protest sign say tonight?
So actually, it's funny. I went out and got the mail right before I came in, and I got this button in the mail.
Look at that.
Look
at that.
I
You're
love
with Joe.
Right?
You're with Joe.
I have no idea. It's this group. Apparently, they made 100 of these buttons and they mailed them out to different people. I got, ironically, number 44 out of 100. They're all numbered. But I'm like, oh. But, what I will say is that, I think that that's what I am doing to protest everything that's going on right now, right? Is that, I looked at what was going on in the world with politics, and I very much felt that we needed different voices out there besides what we had. And so my running is indeed my form of protesting, because I feel like our current representatives are so terrible, and we've got to get better voices for Kentucky. And so, that is my protest sign, right? Because my running is my protesting.
That's awesome.
And saying we can do better.
That's awesome. I think we've got a couple of your campaign videos. I think we've got one that we want to show to start with Trump tweeting about Massie. Is that right? Ken, can you
Yeah.
President tweeting, quote, looks like a third-rate grandstander named Representative Thomas Massie, a congressman, unfortunately a truly great state, Kentucky, wants to vote against the new Save Our Workers bill in Congress. Throw Massie out of the Republican Party.
I could not agree more. Not only should he be kicked out of the Republican Party, but he should also be kicked out of Congress.
So you got into this race not because you planned to be a longtime politician, but you got in because you were motivated by how horrible the current representation was. What was it about Thomas Massie that just inspired you to run against him?
Well, to be honest, at first it was Mitch McConnell that I was thinking about running against, right? Because I'm like, holy cow, this guy's so terrible. Like, how do we get better representation?
Amen. But, amen. Yes, he is horrible. Absolutely.
Like, somebody's got to do something was kind of my thought. And then, kind of whenever I started talking to the representatives in my area, kind of what I figured out was that with my situation, with being a single mom of two, needing to work, it didn't make sense to do a statewide race. But what did make sense was to look in my own backyard at our congressman, Massie, who has never gotten a single bill passed in the 8 years that he's been in office, that has, only sought to kind of sow this political division between everybody. Republicans and Democrats alike can't stand the guy. And so, what do we have to do to get better representation? And what I was told was that we needed better people to run. And so, I think like most females, right, I always think of everybody else besides myself. And so I tried to talk all of my friends into running against him. And, the more that I tried to talk everybody else into it, the more that I realized that I was the perfect person to run against him. So we launched our campaign, and I'm very proud to say, as a first-time politician, it's been unbelievably successful. We've raised more money than anybody else since Thomas Massie took office, from the Democratic Party at least. And, we've certainly learned a lot along the way, and I think we've made some good movements. The Massey campaign is full-fledged attacking us currently, which obviously shows that they're intimidated and that we're doing some things right, as much as it stinks to, be on the receiving end of that stuff. And that's why people don't want to go into politics. But, that does show that we're doing some things right and that they are scared.
Yeah, absolutely. Kimberly, you have a question for Alexandra?
I sure do. Dr. Owensby. I feel a little funny saying that when I just called you out your name.
When we hang out all the time and Alexandra, or whatever.
I just want to say this. Actually, it's a statement. I couldn't think of anyone other than Thomas Massie that could go against him either. In your part of the woods of Kentucky, how are they feeling about some of the issues that are going on right now that Thomas Massie hasn't had a bill passed when the Republicans, are pretty much in the majority at the federal level? And how are they feeling about education, healthcare? How are they feeling in your neck of the woods?
Well, surprisingly, right? So many people are uninformed about Massie. And so I think that's the biggest battle that we face, is that, people vote for him just because he has that R next to his name. I have several different split counties. So we've got 20 different counties, and 3 of them are split counties. And, I go into some of them and I talk to people where half the county is Massie, half the county is Barr right now represented. Both of them have been in office for a while. And I ask the people, who's your current congressperson? And no one knows. And so that, uneducated, uninformed voter aspect is the biggest threat to our democracy, right? Because the people that are aware of Massie and that are aware of who he is as a person and as a politician are very much against him. And, very open to, even if it's a Democratic voice, somebody that is better than him to represent people. But, that is something that is very dangerous to us, is the fact that people just don't do their research and recognize who it is that they're voting for. They just vote R or D. And, that's something that certainly we combat. The people that are interested in politics and that do pay attention to it, they are fed up, especially the Republicans. I talked to a number of Republican women, and all of them say, I don't even know why I'm a Republican anymore, because I don't feel like they represent me. And that, to me, is very indicative of our times, right? Is that we don't have politicians that people feel like represent them. And that's where we need people to step up to the plate and run. I think we have a really great crowd this cycle, and, people that are willing to listen and be moderate voices that don't just represent Democrats, but they represent everyone in their district, which I think is important.
Hey, Alexandra. So I am going to go out on a limb here, and I'm going to assume that most voters in the 4th district, regardless of their party, do not support hate groups. So I guess you may have answered the question already, but I want to sort of get into it a little bit. How is it that your opponent will not go on the record to denounce white nationalist hate groups, and he does not think that that's going to hurt him? How does that work?
Because, honestly, I think that is a big part of his support groups, right? So we have a number of different groups that have come out and attack us, right? They pay people from all across the nation to come in and attack any of his opponents. It's called Massey Mania, and they are very vocal about, the fact that they will pay people to come into the district. They'll pay them between $2,000 and $2,200 a month, plus their living expenses, plus their, commuting expenses to get here, to stand up for him. And so these groups obviously are extremist groups. And so that is his support. That's his fan base. And so, as long as he has those people showing up, waving flags, waving signs, and, supporting him on social media, he feels comfortable in where he is. And I think that he also knows that, again, the ignorance about who he is as a person, and just, these people that just vote for him just because he has that R next to his name. And I think that's what he's banking on. He's very arrogant. He thought once he won the primary that he was in the clear. And it is a shame, right? So if you are truly a voice for the district, then you would go on record and you would say, no, I don't support these hate groups. No, this is the wrong way to go. But instead we see him and Savannah Maddox just 2 days ago released an article saying that Governor Beshear deserved a smackdown, quote unquote. Now, whenever we know that governors all across the nation are being threatened by people, that, we have this plot against Governor Whitmer to kidnap her. We have the effigy being hung of Governor Beshear in the Capitol. To use the word smackdown, which obviously incites physical violence, is not okay. But he constantly does that.
It's a shame. Well, good luck on the campaign trail. I think we have one more of your videos we want to close out with, and then we'll maybe have you back for kind of final words before we say goodnight. Can we have that ad?
Here is another engine coming. A little blue engine. A very little one. Maybe she will help us. My story is a story of overcoming adversity. It's a story of strength and courage in the face of insurmountable challenges. The kind of strength and courage it's going to take to represent Kentucky in today's divisive political climate. I was a stay-at-home mom in an abusive marriage, unsure of how I would be able to provide for my children if I left. But I tell myself, I think I can. And so I enter nursing school and find a rewarding career as a registered nurse. Working full-time as a single mom to 2 beautiful children, I knew I would need to increase my income to support my family of 3 and to be able to be there for my children as they grew up. I tell myself, I think I can. And so I take out student loans and I put myself through a master's and then a doctorate degree in nursing, and I became a nurse practitioner. My story isn't unique. There are hardworking people all across the district who are struggling to make ends meet, even with a college education. They need someone that can be their voice in Washington. I know I can. For years, we have asked our elected officials to represent us, the working and middle class of Kentucky. And what have we gotten in return? Bills that don't get passed. Crumbling infrastructure. A healthcare system where most families are one serious illness away from a bankruptcy. We've seen attacks on our teachers and even threats to get rid of the Department of Education. We have a political environment filled with fear-mongering and attempts to pit Americans against each other. Kentucky, we can do better. I'm Alexandra Owensby, and I approve this message because I believe it's time we had a representative in Washington that can be a voice for all of us.
Really, really powerful story, and I'm so glad that you're having a chance to share it with the folks in Northern Kentucky. And I hope more and more of them hear it and take that message with them to the polls, because Massey does not have that strong, powerful story. He's just got a bunch of inflammatory statements. That's really kind of all he's got. But hey, anything you want to close with? Anything you want our viewers to know about you and your campaign and how they can help?
Sure. Well, I mean, I think a number of things, right? So we are in the final days. However, there is still plenty of time. We know that the undecided and the Republican voters probably aren't going to the polls until Election Day. And so it's not too late to make a difference. And so certainly, my website is www.amowensby, as in A as in Alexandra, M as in Marie, Owensby.com. So you can go on there. If you have any questions for me, you can ask questions. You can donate money, which we certainly need. We're trying to get our story out on cable news and all these different broadcast areas, but we need money to do it. So certainly that's a great way to do it. And the other thing too that I encourage people is to, in the next cycle, run for office. You know, whenever we look at right now, the federal government is at almost a dead standstill, right, because of partisan politics. And we look at things are getting decided on the state and local levels. So first and foremost, not only do we need to pay attention to our local races and we need to invest in those local races, but I also encourage people to get involved. You know, we can all do something, whether it's volunteer, whether it's donate money, or whether it's run for office. I think that, you know, we need to get involved at our own level and, you know, constantly be challenging ourselves as to what our own level can be.
That's awesome.
Thank you.
So thanks again for joining us. All right, folks, we are closing out the show, and as such, I'm going to give it to Kimberly to give you what you need to do this week.
Well, remember, committee, we've got just 2 weeks to win this thing, and we've got to win it big, okay? And retire Mitch to save our democracy. Make sure to take action every single day. Here's what this week will look like for you. Today, of course, Monday, you watched and/or you're listening to Moscow Mitch Monday. Follow us on Facebook and invite 20 friends who want to ditch Mitch as well. We've now topped 2,100 likes, and I've challenged us to get 3,300 likes. Can you please help? Invite your friends right now. Would you? Thank you. I even showed my shoulder today to get some extra likes. Anything? We need 3,300, or else these guys, the bet, I don't have the money to pay it up. So please like the page, please. Or else I'm going to have to resort to sending these guys to White Castle. Also on Tuesday, always join the 5K for KY. Start making your list of 10, 20, maybe 30 friends and voters, folks that you can inform and persuade them to make their voices heard. We'll plug folks into the Empower platform and help them share updates and engagement strategies. Also on Wednesday, we're calling for Amy. Yes, we are. We're signed up, and join us. On Thursdays, phone calls for Josh Hicks. Join the MMRC and Progressives for Josh, 5 p.m. to 7 p.m. on Zoom and on the phones. RSVP today. Today, we need you. We need you. And of course, on Friday, check in with friends, family, and the guy who sells you coffee. Make sure that they have a plan to vote. Make sure they know why they need to back Amy, and make sure they get to the polls. If you want some talking points to make those conversations, text or DMs easier, join us at getempower.com/MMRC. And on Saturday, Save SCOTUS Saturday. Join us in a protest near Mitch's Lexington office from 3 to 4:30 p.m. at Harrodsburg Road and Corporate Drive off of New Circle. Lots of fun every week. Come pick up an Amy yard sign, hold up a Ditch Mitch banner for a little while, meet other committee members, and join us. Also, I would like to say that on Sunday, we have something even fabulous for you. Join us in supporting the People's Campaign. We'll be getting together on Sunday morning for some socially distant literature drops in high potential voter precincts. Hang out with us and help ditch Mitch and become a part of the MMRC. And the People's Campaign will be there. Defending Democracy Together. Pinch Me. We'll be sharing an event on Facebook group soon. Pinch me. If somebody pinches me for real, it's going to be a problem. I'm just saying, if you see me walking down the street, do not pinch me. Don't do it. Warning you, don't do it. Oh yeah, before I forget, next Monday, we are going to be joined by the great Josh Hicks, Kentucky's 6th district candidate, to flip that seat and beat Mitch's former intern and mudslinging liar. And I could say something else about him, but you might have kids listening right now. So I'm just going to say Andy Big Bank Barr. Big Bank. So that's a cool addition. And thanks to Ken and CouchFireMedia.com, his activist art show, American Exceptionalism, Degenerate Counterculture, and the 100 Seconds Until Midnight will be live all of October at the Lexington Art League at the Loudon House. His artist website, and I suggest that you go look at this website. It's great. It's wonderful, actually. And it is www.alllowercaseletters.com. That is the actual website. And on Facebook, you can go to Obliquity of the Ecliptic. This is a mixed media show, both digital and physical art that features activism, dissent of local, regional, and national political agendas and concepts. This media was created to sublimate anxiety, fear, lies, hate, and anger since and before Trump. And you know you are angry since Trump. So I suggest you go look at that. Also, you might be happy to know that Mitch McConnell will be making some cameos as well. So I know you want to see it. Also, let's keep everything going by putting a little bit of cash in the hat, okay? Put your money up. Let us secure the bag, all right? And can we meet our weekly goal? So the information is up there on your screen where you can send that to. And also my favorite song of the season, which is Mitch, Please. And I say that with attitude, Mitch, please, okay? It is the great feel-good sound of this election. It's catchy, it's political, and it's factual. You will love it. So, unless you hate like classic rock and, rock and stuff like that, R&B and stuff, you won't like it. So, catch us next week, okay? And have everybody to like the page, 3,300. Or I'm either going to take them to Red Lobster or they're going to get White Castles, okay? We'll see you next week.
Thank you.